and we're going to move on to our next panel, which is dealing with AI in the digital asset management space. And we've got all of our speakers here. We're going to start off with Mark Milstein and pull up on the wrong spot. There we go. Mark. Mark is co-founder and director of business management at Visual. I think I'm saying that right.
Visual, I think you said.
Visual. Okay. Leads pioneering efforts in building ethical generative AI through Dataset Shop and Makery.ai. Dataset Shop hosts the world's largest licensable biometric dataset crucial for training AI. Makery.ai allows users to create digital twins using the LoRa model. Committed to ethical AI, Milstein serves as chairman of DMLA, the Digital Millennium, no, that's a different one.
Digital Media Licensing
Digital
Association.
Media Licensing Association is involved with IPTC metadata standards, a sought-after speaker. He discusses AI ethics and synthetic media at global events. Notable engagements include advising the British government on AI legislation and speaking at Contact Live 2022. And a number of other things. Milstein founded Micro Solutions LLC and photo agencies North Photo and Red Dot. As a former photojournalist, he covered numerous conflicts and disasters worldwide. So I'd like to introduce Mark, and do you have a few opening comments or presentation to share?
Well, thank you very much for that. That was really awe-inspiring. I would love to get to know myself now. That was really nice. Look, I've been literally stewing over this subject now for well over almost 3 years. Before there was like what I call before Dali, and then there was after Dali. So there's prehistory, and now there's post-history or post-event history. And I've been thinking about how this was all going to come into some sort of a synergy, how this new technology was going to be merged with traditional asset management, how the asset management vendors were going to approach metadata. And so, given that we're now 2 years and some months into this revolution, at this present state, this is my comment. Digital asset management software sort of I think has failed. The industry itself has failed to sort of live up to its potential. There was an opportunity, and there still might be a sort of a shrinking opportunity for DAM platforms to embrace generative AI and to not just act as digital shoeboxes where content is stored, managed, retrieved, and distributed, but act as a content generation space. So I always had this idea, at least even as long as 3 years ago, that DAMs would become the new Shutterstocks, the new Adobe stocks, the new Gettys. Who needs to leave campus, so to speak, to generate content when you can just do it literally from the toolbar? And although the technology is there, the asset management vendors have yet to embrace that. What they have done is they have embraced AI-generated metadata solutions. Many of them, I would say the majority of them, have gone in with all good intent and some decent rollout of the technology that allows users to use AI-powered solutions to tag vast sums of content. Now, that's all well and good if you consider that content has been generated by a digital camera, a telephone, by an outside vendor. It's sourced from an outside vendor. It's a licensed piece of media. Where the problems come into is that what many people probably weren't thinking of at the time is that digital asset management platforms are actually great places to store, aggregate, manage, and distribute data sets. And so, we had this whole idea that AI would be powered by data, but we weren't quite articulate as to where it was going to come from. I think we all know now that in order to train up an AI model, you need vast sums of either visual or text-based data. And digital asset management tools are actually a good place for that to occur. And so those AI solutions which provide descriptive metadata to images which come out of cameras or out of a third party license or from a vendor, I should say, or from a studio photographer, are not, absolutely not, the kind of tools that are required to add metadata to content which is now going to be prepped for the training of an algorithm. That kind of descriptive metadata still requires real humans and real manual effort. And so those AI modules are great for one type of content, but not necessarily very good for to apply metadata to content being used or being thought of to be used for the training of generative AI. When it comes to the outputs of generative AI, in other words, the synthetic outputs, I don't know of a system yet that exports any of their images, whether it's in PNG or JPEG file format, with metadata. So it's not as if you're, let's say, downloading an image from Adobe stock or from Getty or from Shutterstock, which comes with IPTC metadata, pretty much all intact. There's a description, there's a caption, potentially, if it's editorial. There are keywords, there are additional administrative rights attached to that, and some other perhaps technical data. With synthetic outputs from the likes of the Midjourney, Dolly, or Stability, those pieces of content, those assets come with zero volume of metadata, which means that metadata now must be applied anew. And that's completely different from the aforementioned type of metadata. So the synthetic metadata requires, I think, a pretty standard caption, as I said, caption, description, and keywords. That is perfect for AI models. In other words, these kind of automated tagging systems, but are absolutely, which are, as I described earlier, absolutely not up to the task of tagging data. In other words, content being prepared for data. And I'll stop at this moment. I'm going to turn this over to the next speaker because I think that the remaining members of the panel probably have many more better things to say than I do.
Thank you, Mark. Next, we're going to talk to Jeff Nova, who leads Color Rhythm, a pioneering digital imaging service and software company based in San Francisco since 2000. With a rich legacy in photography inspired by his father's work at NASA, Jeff has propelled Color Rhythm into a nexus of creativity and technology, serving elite clients like RH, Williams-Sonoma, Levi's, and Fitbit. An early adopter of AI and imaging, Jeff's expertise spans computer vision, deep learning, along with the philosophy of AI and nature of consciousness. His broad range of academic pursuits in philosophy and psychology underpin his approach, focusing on the enhancement of human creativity. Recognized speaker in the imaging industry, Jeff's insights into AI-generated metadata reflect his commitment to innovation at the intersection of art and technology. So I believe you do have some slides to share with us, Jeff. So
yeah. Thanks for the
intro.
Feel
free to share your screen.
If anybody guessed that was written by ChatGPT, you were right. So yeah, there's metadata for AI generated imagery, as was it Mark mentioned.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to focus on one question, which is how we deal with AI generated metadata. So I'm not going to address the metadata for AI generated assets, but let's go and share my screen here. And, one thing I wanted to really underscore quickly is that, the stakes couldn't be higher here. Truth matters. And these conversations are so important about the role of AI in our lives and in our industries, and also, the role of just having truthful provenance or a way to know what is something is real or not is very high stakes conversations. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so So this is a quote that's, pretty obvious here, but it really is important. It's sort of the question of metadata. Like, all right, who did this? Who tagged this image? And how are they seated? In the social sphere. What kind of interests do they have? What things are they going to emphasize? That's the sort of question that we all want to ask of any information, right? Like, where does this come from, and is it reliable? So this is sort of an iteration of the alignment problem, which I think probably all of you have heard about. It's just basically, well, this is a good definition here. It boils down to this: ensuring AI systems act according to what we want them to do. Pretty straightforward. Not so straightforward to solve. So, and that's a quote from Google Gemini Pro. You'll see a theme emerging here. So that was in a conversation with Gemini Pro about the alignment problem. The questions for AI in metadata workflow is, okay, let's step back and say, what are our interests? What does metadata serve? And what interests are met by AI generated metadata? What concerns, what pitfalls are we facing here? Should we always review AI made metadata? Like Mark mentioned, if you have thousands of images and an AI can tag them, well, that's pretty tough to review. But it's a pretty awesome thing to have. So there's trade-offs there. And as AI improves, how will its role evolve in knowledge access generally? That's a very speculative question. And if we have time, I'll get into it. So, if any of you studied negotiation or even just sort of basically how to address something from first principles, you say, okay, what are the interests here? Let's voice the interests before solutions. So what do we want metadata to do? And what is it like if it's meeting our interests? Okay, it's accurate, right? Useful, unbiased as much as possible, right? Connected to other systems and safe, accessible to all sorts of folks, persistent, so it lives with the asset that it's talking about, insightful, hopefully it brings some information you didn't have about the asset, and then also robust, so very rich schemas that really add so much value to what you're looking at. So then the question here is, so where do the differences between AI generated and human made metadata, where do those differences make an impact on meeting these interests that I just mentioned? So, how does that, let's drill into that, because that's really the question of the presentation here. So some benefits, and I'm excited to talk with you all. It's a fantastic community, and I'd love to be challenged and to hear new ideas. And this is a very rich field. I know, Mark, I'd be happy to hear more from you, having thought about this for so many years. But I see the benefits of AI metadata. One, it's the speed of execution is, a human can't do that. The volume as well, in parallel, how many things can be processed. Again, like thousands of assets can be tagged in the course of a weekend, right? I think it is lower cost. I don't have the evidence for that claim, but I'm pretty sure that that's a reasonable proposition. But I don't have the evidence for it. So I should put that in italics. A really big one is how much more accessible this makes visual content for people who are visually impaired. And we're not talking just about really rich alt and those new fields being populated, captions, descriptions. it also is possible for people to have conversations about images. And that's something that's real, and have audio come back. So that's something that I don't know a lot of people having implemented yet into DAM, but you really could have it. So people can say, okay, I heard what you said about what the image is like. Can you tell me more about the person who's the subject? Can you tell me more about, like, you know, what they're wearing or something? Well, that's all. I mean, that's really opening up the world. That's really opening up the visual world. And another way that it opens up things is through translation. So, you know, I know that I'm a big fan of OpenAI, and you know, they have support for 100 languages or so, and the big sort of dozen that are the major languages, and then just tons of different regional dialects and everything. So suddenly your localization and your ability to connect with people on a global scale is just been you know, exponentially boosted. And I think I already mentioned how, you know, you can actually dial in different output. It's not like a fixed thing where you can say only keywords. You know, you could have an only keywords AI pipeline. Then you can have a one that's just a long description for people who are visually impaired, where that's what you tell the AI to do, is create a description for a visually impaired person. And it also has the capability of summarizing. And some of these models can take groups of images and find patterns among them. Not all, but GPT-4 can do that. So some of you, have you all heard about RAG, or retrieval augmented generation? Is that something that you've heard of? That's all about adding, yeah, cool. That's about adding sort of institutional specific, or whatever, personal specific data to a large language model like ChatGPT or GPT-4. And so that makes it all the more powerful for tagging for a specific organization. And this in turn also aids in cultural and historical preservation. OCR is very cool. It does it quite well. And one of the things that, you know, I think if you haven't used some of the cutting edge tools and you have in mind, like Google Cloud Vision API, or the kind of results that Amazon Rekognition used to give, you have reason to be concerned. Because it you know, as we all know, this field has made a major leap starting in March 2023. The light got turned on. So you know, there's just much better solutions than there used to be. And to Google's credit and to Amazon's credit, both of those platforms are being updated and continually. You know, so it's even then, even they are improving. Oh, I hit the wrong button. Okay, some pitfalls are pretty obvious. You know, I think we've all talked to an AI and had it confidently say something that was total BS. I mean, it happens a lot less than it used to. But that's almost worse in a way because it's not as obvious. You can have this confident expression of totally made up information. Well, that's not good. That is not good. I mean, from GPT-3 to GPT-4, I think hallucinations went down like 60%. So they're working hard on it, obviously. Yeah, I'm not going to read every single one of these. I think that you can get the slides when they become available, or just read them yourself. Oh, I see. I made a mistake there. All right, I got to fix this slide. It left some of the benefits on there too. All right, I have a little video to share with you. This is AI generated voice and video, and the script is by GPT-4.
From an ethical perspective, transparency supports informed decision-making and accountability. It allows people to understand how information was produced and on what basis they might trust it. As AI systems become more sophisticated, there's a natural shift towards roles that leverage human creativity, strategic thinking, and ethical judgment. The aim is not to replace human involvement, but to augment and enhance human capabilities, allowing people to focus on higher-level tasks and creative endeavors. Applying the same standards to human-generated content as AI-generated content underlines the principle that the value and reliability of metadata should be judged on its accuracy and usefulness rather than its source. All content should undergo a review process to ensure it meets established standards and is appropriate for its intended use. This idea might also help in mitigating biases, errors, and ethical concerns that could arise from both human and AI sources.
Excellent. I should have had her give the whole presentation.
She would have done it on time. Well, thank you, Jeff. And we're going to move along to Sergey. Dr. Sergey Fomin is a visionary leader at the forefront of media and software development, serving as the founder and CEO of Picvario and IQ Plug. With a distinguished background as a rocket fuel engineer coupled with a profound interest in media technology, Sergey brings a unique perspective to the industry, having previously spearheaded operations at the esteemed photo stock agency Global Look. Sergey's expertise spans across the American and European Association's media archives. His active involvement in IPTC Metadata Standards Council underscores his commitment to shaping industry practices. Currently, Sergey devotes his energies to pioneering media content development trends at Picvario, while concurrently driving forward innovative initiatives in IPAAS for AI apps at IQ Plug. His unwavering dedication to technological advancement and industry collaboration continues to inspire and shape the landscape of media and software development. Welcome, Sergey, and I believe you have a few slides to share as well.
Yes, thank you very much. 1 sec, I'm trying to share the screen.
I can see them now.
I hope you can see them.
Yep, I can see them.
Yes, just a short presentation of solution we are working on now. It's integration platform allowing DAM platforms and other B2B SaaS solutions integrate useful AI solutions. And 1 sec. Better to.
There we go. Full screen.
Why we came to idea to build up this solution is that as a DAM vendor, we understand that we need a lot of AI solutions for our clients, but it's quite difficult for us to be on top of this market because number of solutions are huge and integration part is very cost and time consuming. That's why we did unified API and already integrated about 40 solutions into the system, allowing DAM platforms to utilize the AI in different ways, like it's a lot of detection tools, retouching, image generation, smart search, etc., etc. The advantage of this solution is quite obvious. As I see, I won't spend your time on it. The questions we have working on this solution are raised in numbers along with the solutions we integrate. I sent the another presentation, and actually we can discuss obvious, the most common, I would say, solutions we would like to integrate, and what questions we have with these integrations. Of course, sorry, it looks like, yeah, we have about 17 technologies, and each technology is supported by several providers usually. We start with a simple sample, I would say, label detection or object detection, which actually returns the tags for search engines, and it helps us to save a lot of time tagging manually images. And already starting with this sample, I can say that we have a lot of questions what to do with this information, because on one hand, it's just the keywords in IPTC standard. On the other hand, it's artificial, and generally speaking, maybe better for us to separate one from another. And as you see, there are a lot of providers of this solution, and we would like to choose the best one, and maybe after some time the best version of this. And so we have to remove this metadata and bring the better model to our DAM system. So generally speaking, I have no, ready to go solution what to do with it, but it looks like every tag should be, or every keyword provided by AI should be linked to specific technology and specific provider. Otherwise, I cannot separate them in the system. Same with face detection, logo detection, and face recognition, etc. Caption generation raised more question, because automatic caption generation looks like a good fit into alt text fields in IPTC, because of course we cannot get the information about certain event from these AI solutions usually, but it improves us our ability to give a better search results, as well as the option to use these fields for visually impaired people. There is a face recognition along with these questions. There are legal questions because it's biometric data, and the question is not only on standard fields I could use to place this information, but also what I have to consider taking this information from the images. Should I be able to pass it cross-border? Should I be able, should I face some, legal issues if I don't have permissions to get this biometric data, etc. So it's, I would say, question to Nancy as a well-known lawyer in this field. And inappropriate content detection, there is also a big question how we can market in metadata fields. The funny recast or image anonymization. You see my portrait on the left, and the AI made the same, keeps the same environment, but removes my biometrics and made me some more ancient and that's maybe old. In this case, there is more questions about metadata because image could be associated with model release, copyright questions also arise. What to do with the metadata in this case? I have no idea, generally speaking, how to make it properly. The same actually happens with a lot of manipulations, like changing background, which could be associated, say, with property release. Can I do it legally or not? How we can, maybe mark imagery, allowing or, betting the operations like that. And image generation, we in IPTC photo metadata working group, we spent a lot of time trying to at least to mark properly the content generated and also fields that allow or restrict the training of these technologies. For me, generative is easiest part of the technologies we use. I think basically every technology, yes, can arise questions. So yeah, thank you. That's my question. So let's discuss them.
Okay, well, we have one more input. We have Nancy Wolf from Cowan DeBatts, Abrahams and Shepherd LLP. She's a partner there and specializes in intellectual property, media, and entertainment law with offices in New York, Beverly Hills, California. As co-chair of the firm's litigation department and art law review, she offers expertise in copyright, defamation, and third-party rights. She represents a diverse clientele, including photographers, artists, museums, and publishers, providing counsel on transactional issues, content usage, and deal structuring. She's a recognized expert and frequently speaks on copyright, media, and licensing in the US and Europe. Nancy's contributions to copyright law include publications in the Allworth Press and ABA Landslide Journal, and has served as the past president of the Copyright Society of the USA. So I'm gonna, let's see if you can stop sharing your screen. I need to share Nancy's there. Sergey?
Oops, sorry.
That's okay.
1 sec. 1 sec.
There we go. Okay.
Thank you. So are we going to share your screen or my screen?
I've got mine ready to share.
Okay,
if you want to share yours.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Just tell me next slide. I just need to.
All right. Well, you can get off that picture, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to. I've got my other things covering up the. There we go. Okay.
Hey.
That should get us into full screen mode, and then I will go. There we go.
So I'm going to talk about a completely different subject than what has been, I presume, talked about earlier today when you talk about like generative AI, but it'll be I think when we get into this, the importance of keeping track of how images are created are going to be really important if you're going to want to do a project for a client that needs to own copyright in something. You're going to need to keep track of how you make things, the prompts you do, and be able to identify that you've had some human interaction in creating works. And I know there was some biometric issues that I can talk to after that. So next slide. We'll just... Is it working?
David, I think you
I'm
might
not
have your
seeing the
slideshow view on a different screen. We're still seeing the slide editor view.
Yeah, do you
Okay,
want me to share my screen now instead?
If you sure, if you want to try
But you
that.
would just have to I can't do it while you're doing it.
Well, you just
Yes.
have to play the slideshow under the
Okay,
slideshow.
I can. Mine was. I think I have mine ready to go.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Here it is, and I'll just go here. Okay, so we did that.
Hit the full screen thing.
Yeah.
Down lower right.
All right. I'm not in full screen.
F5, F5.
Or F5. Well, if you're on a PC.
I am. F5.
Well, from beginning. They're no, they're in the menu from the beginning.
From beginning. Got it. Well, I just want. Oh,
Yeah.
I had something different. Okay. All right. So Copyright Office sort of got hit by a storm with AI, and it had to make some policy decisions about will a work of generative visual art that's created with prompts be subject to copyright. And there's been a number of test cases that I'll talk about. And right now, the policy and the decisions of the Copyright Office that have also been gone to federal court have come out on the side that if there has been no human authorship, then the work is not copyrightable. And it all literally goes back to the day of when cameras were invented, where there was an issue is if you create an image with a camera, it's a machine, is it subject to copyright? Because our Copyright Act uses the word author throughout the entire act, and there's many, many definitions. There is no definition of author, but the courts have come out that authorship based on other language in the act must be human authorship. And in the case of the famous portrait of Oscar Wilde that got copied, the course copyist argued that it was just taken by a mechanical process. So the original photographer, Cerrone, was not an author. And the court looked at all the choices the photographer made when creating the image. And this is what the court still today looks at when it looks at copyrightability of visual works, is the choices when you use a camera, the choices an author makes. In this instance, it was posed, there was the selection of the drapes and the background and the subjects and the light and the shade, and how the photographer evoked by selecting this image the desired expression. So they recognize that you can use a mechanical device as a tool, but still there needs to be a human that is involved in the creation of the work. And this has come up a few times. For example, when someone has tried to claim that a celestial being was the author of a work, the Copyright Office rejected that. And then everyone, of course, remembers this case of the macaque monkey who took a selfie that the photographer had left out. And even though the photographer was the one who edited and found this work, PETA, on behalf of the Naruto, the monkey, brought a claim trying to say that standing in Naruto's shoes, there should be authorship to animals, and the court had no problem finding that that was not permitted in the Copyright Act, that the author has to be a human. And all these cases get cited in the ones that come up to the AI. So if you want to register something that's generated by AI, the Copyright Office has come up with some guidelines, and they know it will change as things change. But right now, if it's provided entirely by AI technology, it will not be considered a product of human authorship. And also they're requiring disclosure if you've used AI in your application. So the application doesn't actually have a specific area that asks for AI, but there is a section of the application where you have to disclaim things that you have not created. For example, if you had pre-existing works, if there's something in the public domain that's part of your work, there is a section of the application where you need to have this disclaimer. And if you have enough human authorship in the selection and, for example, arrangement of different elements, then you can get a copyright in that coordination. But it seems very clear that if you create something with just using prompts, at this point, the Copyright Office is not going to allow the registration to go through. And this is unknown what it means by de minimis, if the AI generated elements are de minimis, then you don't need to exclude it. And of course, this is very confusing, particularly for illustration and visual artists, because many tools that you use in creating work have not generative AI in it, but do use AI. A lot of the Creative Suite backgrounds can, have elements of AI in it, a lot of animation, but there still needs to be some human sort of shaping of the work in order to get a registration. And the Copyright Office, if you go to their website, they have a compendium, which is really helpful. And it's all the requirements that they look at in whether an application will be submitted successfully, whether it's a work of art, music, film, anything. And so the compendium does make it clear that there must be a human authorship requirement in addition to originality. And so if it's only done with a machine, it's not going to be accepted. They have, because this area is changing so rapidly, had a very extensive notice of inquiry that came out last August, where there were a lot of questions about how you use AI, what levels should be protected, how much transparency, how much disclosure, and that was submitted in the fall, and then they issued a letter to Congress saying what they're going to do next. And it's kind of interesting. They're not tackling the copyrightability first, but they're looking at the sort of the replicas and the fake issues, because that seems to be the most threatening right now, where you can, replicate someone's appearance, voice, and other aspects. And then the second step, they're going to address the copyrightability. But there's a lot of review board decisions regarding AI right now, and I'll just briefly go through some. So this slide is an example of someone who submitted this visual art as a work of visual art, and the Copyright Office reviewed the application and had some correspondence to determine how much was done with AI and how much was changed by the human author. And in this instant, Mr. Allen was unwilling to disclaim any of the parts that were done by AI, because I think it was predominantly AI and just cleaned up a little by Mr. Allen. And since he refused to disclaim the AI in the material, the Copyright Office would not register the work. And again, a lot of these are test cases that are trying to push the limits and to see what you can do. So when the copyright board rejects it, then the next step is to go to federal court and see if you can get a different result. So far, there hasn't been any different results. This is another example where this visual artwork was created with a photograph as a base, except the prompt was make the work look like Van Gogh's Starry Night. So, and the photograph was just sort of a plain photograph of, it was like a patio or a porch or something from an apartment. And he used, generative AI application in order to create the work in the style of. And that's something interesting about copyright, because copyright protects from copying, but it doesn't protect styles. So that's another area where AI is bumping up into traditional notions of copyright. So for 3 times, the Copyright Office denied registration on this work. As if you get denied once, you get a chance for a review, and then you get a second review. But it's interesting because in Canada, it was able to be registered as a co-authorship. And the problem with why it wasn't registered in the US is that it was submitted as a derivative work. And for a derivative work, you have to show that the work that you added to the underlying work is original. And he couldn't separate what was his own work and what was done with the AI. And that way, it made it impossible for the Copyright Office to register it. And then this is another example of someone who created an AI generator who wanted the AI generator to be the author of the work and owner, almost like under the theory that if you own a company and you control the machines, that you should, under a work for hire concept, be able to own the underlying work. And the Copyright Office denied the application because they found there was no human authorship. It was only created using prompts. And then this went up to the district court, and the district court agreed the Copyright Office was proper in rejecting this application. And there's been motions of summary judgment. And then Zara of the Dawn, this is a case where the application went through the Copyright Office because nothing was disclaimed. But then somehow, I believe in social media, the visual artist was saying something, oh, I'm the first one to get a registration through the Copyright Office. So the Copyright Office re-examined it and found out that the underlying background images were all created with Midjourney. And so they went back and revised the application so it only protected the text and the compilation and not the underlying artwork. They wouldn't recognize it because they found that the minor changes that the author did were too minor for copyright protection. And this is a case that's still going through, so we really don't know where the boundaries are, where you start out with an illustration and then you upload it and have the AI generator sort of complete the work. And so we really don't know the answer to this. So this is the area where I'm getting so many comments and questions, like how can we effectively use AI and still have a work that we could, a client wants to have, a design done, they want to own it, and you have to make reps and warranties. So usually, it seems right now the best use for a lot of this is like doing a lot of ideation and shortcuts to see what ideas are the best, and then have a human make most of the end product that you would want to, provide to a client or use if you need to, protect it and give a brand something that they can own. But I can see how having, accurate information in metadata could be helpful in dealing with questions of, what is the human contribution and what is the AI contribution. So
great. Well,
and,
thank you, Nancy.
Yeah.
If you could end your share, and we can bring the people
Yes,
back
I
on
can
screen.
do that. I can do that. I will stop sharing.
So we have
yeah, that little
only
red thing that says
we have
stop.
only a few minutes left for questions. So
If you want me to answer the biometrics, I know in the US there's 3 states that do have strict biometric laws right now. I think Illinois, Texas, and Washington, and I'm sure others are going to follow. So DMLA, what Mark and I are both associated with, there is sort of a new model release that's much stronger that would allow for biometric use. Of course, most image libraries have millions of images that are based on a previous release that no one ever thought about biometrics. But I know that I know Mark's company, where they're doing a lot of synthetic, has a very clear biometric release. And I think you have to be very careful in dealing, getting biometric information from people. If you are, you can't really distribute images and not have them in Illinois or Washington or Texas. So just like right of privacy and defamation, you're going to be sort of the most strict state.
To bring this back to some things that more people are likely to run into sooner rather than later, I know there's been talk about, like, for instance, the AI keywording when people are using different, and there are a number of resources now to add keywords to images. I think it was somebody from Smithsonian, they were talking about the concept of human in the loop, where having those generated is one thing, whether or not to apply them just without somebody supervising seems ill-advised at present, given, as Jeff was saying, talking about hallucinations.
Right.
Do any of our panelists want to discuss how they feel? Are there any best practices at this point?
Right. May I?
Sure.
Sure. So, okay. As I said in my briefly in the beginning of this panel, that AI auto tagging solutions are not very good. They, again, Jeff well described it as being, a tool that allows you to apply metadata across a myriad volume of images, which by itself is absolutely a step forward for meta tagging. However, as you mentioned, that this person from the Smithsonian also mentioned that there are a lot of issues, and that's the fact. So the images, I should say, the auto tagged images, many times are poorly described. AI doesn't have a very good track record in terms of its ability to be descriptive. It can tell you, yes, that's a bird or a cat, but it really can't tell you the context in which the bird or the cat have been captured in that image or that piece of audio or that piece of video. And so a human must be present. And normally it's a good idea to have an editor look over that content and then what I call clean up the auto tagged metadata and apply human tags afterwards.
Or context.
Right. And it's exactly the same reason why AI is ill-suited at this very moment for the application of metadata for data sets, because data set metadata is so much more granular, so much more subatomic in its level of descriptiveness than just general what I call general tagging or state-of-the-art tagging at this very moment.
Well, Mark, I would add a couple things. I know one is that, these things are changing every week. It's like you blinked, oh my God, new models out. But if you check out GPT-4 Turbo with Vision, the very recent release, the results are rather stunning. They're rather stunning.
Right.
And that's, as I said, a little dangerous because the errors are harder to catch. And would you guys mind if I showed an interface that shows human in the loop?
Sure. I just would like to add that for anybody who's interested, that OpenAI solution, that particular module is called CLIP, CLIP. OpenAI developed a product called CLIP about 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago, that does text to image pairing. And CLIP is the underlying technology. It's a neural network that's applied, or that's layered on top of the foundation model and the what do you call it?
Yeah,
publicly facing.
I might have to contest that. I'm not sure that the latest thing is based on CLIP, but
okay, fine. That's
not
okay.
Sure.
It could be. Okay.
You blinked, Mark. You blinked. So here's AI keywords suggested here. Here's keywords suggested based on web references. This is using
Can
Google.
you zoom that in a little bit, Jeff?
I don't know. Can I?
I don't know. If you hit
there you go. There you go. That's better.
The text is a little bit bigger now.
There you go.
So you can see here that they're cordoned off, right? You also have a slider here, and you can say Fitbit Versa. Wow, very good. That's what it is. Fitbit, smartwatch, watch, stove. What?
Appliance.
And then here you can say, okay, let's approve that. And they become the keywords that are indexed and searchable. And check this out. You can go back and edit it. You can say, actually, no, wait. So they have to be promoted from the AI kind of suggestions. They're labeled as such. They have to be promoted to the main keywords to be pushed out.
Great. Well, thanks for sharing. We are actually over the hour. I don't know, are there any other questions that we can address, or do we need to wrap up here now, Brendan?
I think we do need to finish. Okay. We promised everyone we would finish on the hour. So it just remains for me to exit my editing page. I just uploaded Leonard's slides, so they're available now as well. So just to say thanks to everyone for participating today. Thank you for just attending, for everyone who presented. We had a large number of presenters today. I think there were 10 people altogether. So thank you very much to everyone for helping out, but thanks especially to David and to Michael and the rest of the IPTC Photo Metadata Working Group for organizing the event. So we had the IPTC Spring Meeting just a few weeks ago, so I was quite busy doing all of that. So David and Michael took the lead on putting this together. So I really appreciate that. So the slides for most sessions are now available on the event page. So please go and have a look. And the videos we will be posting very soon. I believe you might be able to get them quite soon through the Zoom webinar interface if you're registered, but otherwise I'll be chopping up the download versions of the recordings and making those available on our website for anyone who wants to see them in the future. So please contact us for anything you want to follow up about what you've heard today. We can put you in touch with any of the speakers, or if you want some more information, if you have some suggestions for things that we could do or topics that we could cover at future IPTC Photo Metadata conferences, we'd definitely love to hear from you. David, do you have any final words?
No, I just wish we had a little bit more time.
Yeah, it's
that
good
always seems to be the case.
Have a compressed period of time to get lots done, but it is a bit exhausting. So maybe we can go back and look at the presentation recordings ourselves just to remind ourselves of what happened.
If anybody has suggestions for next year's conference on topics that are up and coming, please let us know.
Great. Okay, well, let's finish it there. So thank you again to everyone for coming, and we hope to see you next year.
Take care.
Okay.
Thank you, Brendan. Thank you, David. Thank you, Michael. Bye-bye. So